This is Lexi coming at you with a new budget commander list. And as promised from today's earlier short video, we're going to be looking at Eriette auras. This is a budget deck, obviously, again. So basically, what the commander does, she's only 3 mana, so we can pop her out on either turn 2 or turn 3. But each creature that is enchanted by an aura you control cannot attack you or planeswalker. And at the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses X life, and you gain X life, where X is the number of auras you control. So the thing that makes this deck fun is that you can play it 2 different ways. You can play it the more aggressive way in enchanting your own creatures, or you can enchant your opponent's creatures and force your opponent to deal combat damage to other players. So the game becomes political at that point because you're targeting their best creatures with your auras. Their creatures are getting bigger and stronger because of it. You're goading them, and you're forcing them to attack someone else besides you. So for creatures, we're going to be looking at Ajani's Chosen. So whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield, you create a 2/2 white creature token. And if it was an aura, you may attach it to the token. Next, we have Archons of Sungrace. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you make a 2/2 Pegasus with flying. Next, Archon. Anything that is enchanted by an aura, other creatures have base power and toughness 4/4 and have flying. Then we play Ashiok's Reaper. That says whenever an enchantment you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you get to draw a card. Denitha allows us to have our aura spells cost 1 less to cast. Eidolon of Countless Battles gets you can either do its bestow cost, or you can play it as an enchantment creature. So it's an enchanted creature, gets +1/+1 for each creature you control, and +1/+1 for each aura you control. Then we play Grim Guardian. Whenever it or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent will lose a life. Hateful Eidolon, which is a solid 1-drop, because it's a 1/2 with lifelink, but it says whenever an enchanted creature dies, you draw a card for each aura that was attached to it. Then we're going to be playing Kambal, Consul of Allocation, that whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, they lose 2 life and you gain 2 life. Next, Catilda, where its power and toughness are equal to the number of permanents you control that are spirits or enchantments. And then for the disturb cost of 5, you can enchant a creature, and that creature will have flying, lifelink, protection from vampires, and it gets +X/+X, where X is the number of permanents you control that are spirits and or enchantments. And then if this were to be put in the graveyard from anywhere, you exile it instead. Then Killian just makes this deck a lot easier to play, because spells you cast that target a creature cost 2 less to cast. So our enchantment auras are going to become cheaper as long as this is on the board. Then we play Core Spirit Dancer because it buffs itself for each aura that's attached to it, and then whenever you cast an aura spell, you get to draw a card. Then another very good card is Light Paws, because it allows you to seek out multiple auras. Whenever you put an aura on it, you search your library for another aura that has value less than or equal to the aura that was attached to it. Next, we're going to be playing Lotho Corrupt Sheath, because it just generates so much value for us, because whenever an opponent casts their second spell, we will lose a life, but we get to create a treasure. Next, we play Lurrus, because during one of our turns, we may cast 1 permanent spell with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard. So this allows us to recur aura spells that went to the graveyard from the battlefield for whatever reason. Then we play Managara the Diplomat, because it's a very versatile card that says if two or more creatures are attacking you or a planeswalker you control, you draw a card. And then whenever an opponent casts their second spell, you get to draw a card. Next, we play Mesa Enchantress, just to get us some extra card draw whenever we cast whenever we cast an enchantment. Next, we play Ondu Spirit Dancer, because it's just this is an incredible card, because whenever another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you may create a copy of it, and you can only do it once per turn. So you always got to be in the mindset of trying to decide what enchantment you want to copy. So since it's a May ability, you get to choose which one you do, but you typically want to do the aura that is going to benefit you the most. Then we play Shram, just to draw extra cards whenever we play an aura spell. Starfield Mystic makes our enchantments cost 1 less to cast, And then for whatever reason, when an enchantment is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you get to put a 1/1 counter on it. Transcendent Envoy also makes sure auras cost 1 less to cast. Then Underworld Coinsmith, simply because whenever it or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life. Then you can pay a black and a white to pay 1 life to make each opponent lose 1 life. So this is good with our commander because we're going to be gaining life along the way at each end step for the amount of auras we control. So it allows us to use that excess life to pay into this card to drain our opponents for more. And then if we're gaining life, might as well be playing Veto Thorn of the Dusk Rose, because whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. And then for 5 mana, for whatever reason, creatures you control gain lifelink until the end of the turn. And then our last creature is Wicked Visitor. Whenever an enchantment you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. As far as sorceries, you're going to be playing Feed the Swarm for removal, Night Whipper to draw cards, Read the Bones to draw cards, Sign in Blood to draw cards, and then Wings of Wrath to destroy all creatures that aren't enchanted and they can't be regenerated. For instance, we're going to be playing Anguish Sunmaking for removal, Dark Ritual to ramp, the Spark for removal, Flawless Maneuver to protect our board, Fracture to deal with artifacts, enchantments, or planeswalkers, Generous Gift to destroy a target permanent, and Path to Exile. As far as artifacts, we're going to be playing Arcane Signet, Commander Sphere, Orzhov Signet, Soul Ring, and Talisman of Hierarchy. And then the bulk of our deck is enchantments, so all that glitters will give an enchanted creature +1/+1 for each artifact or enchantment you control. Angelic Gift allows you to draw a card and give a creature flying. Ethereal Armor gives a creature +1/+1 for each enchantment you control, and it has first strike. Ghostly Prison as a tax card to force our opponent to pay 2 for each creature that's attacking us. Ghoulish Impetus to goad an opponent's creature, and then when that creature dies, this returns to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step, so we can attach this to another creature that we want to, and then that creature will be goaded and forced to attack each turn if able to an opponent and not towards us. Greater Auramancy just to give our enchantment Shroud, and enchanted creatures will have Shroud. Hyena Umbra to give something first strike and totem armor. Kyra's Ghost Form to bring a creature back that is dies or is put into exile. Lord Skitter's Blessing to draw an additional card each turn during our draw step. We will lose a life. Marshal's Impetus to goad a creature, and whenever that a creature attacks, other creatures that attacking whenever enchanted creature attacks, each other creature that's attacking one of your opponents get +1/+1 until the end of the turn. So our opponent might be incentivized. I can't even say the word. They might be inclined to attack their opponents because they're gonna get the buff from this. So they might swing out at someone. Minions Return is a flash enchantment that whenever a creature dies, you can return that card to the battlefield under your control. So let's say we enchant our opponent's creature, that creature dies, and then that creature is going to return onto our side on our side of the battlefield. Then we're playing a new card that's not out yet called Nurgle's Rock. You enchant creature an opponent controls with it, and then whenever that creature dies, you return this to your hand, and then we will create a 1/3 demon creature token named Plague Bearer of Nurgle. Next, we play Parasite Impetus to again goad another creature our opponent controls, and then whenever that creature attacks, its controller will lose 2 life and we gain 2 life. Then we play Phyrexian Arena to draw cards, Sage Reverie to draw a card for each aura that's attached to a creature, and then the enchanted creature will get +1/+1 for each aura you control that's attached to a creature. Then we play Sigil of the Empty Throne to generate a bunch of 4/4 white angel creature tokens whenever we cast an enchantment. Songbird's Blessing is here to allow us to attack with the enchanted creature. Look at the top cards of our library until we reveal an aura. You put that card onto the battlefield, and if you don't put it in your hand, put the rest onto the bottom in a random order. Then we also play Spear of Safety as another tax card, so creatures can attack you or a planeswalker you control, unless their opponent plays X for each of those creatures, where X is the number of enchantments we control. Then we play Spirit Link to gain life. Spirit Mantle to give creature protection from creatures, and +1/+1. Unquestioned Authority to draw us a card and then give an enchanted creature protection from creatures. The Vampiric Link to gain life, and Vow of Torment to give a creature +2/+2, and Menace, and it can attack you or planeswalkers you control. So we can either attach this to one of our creatures or we can attach it to our opponent, and they cannot attack us with this card. Then for lands, it's pretty simple. We're going to be playing Bojuka Bog, Castle Lockwayne to draw cards, and that is about it. So this deck is going to cost you $150. As you can see, we curve out evenly at 2 and 3, and that is the deck in a nutshell. So if you enjoyed this video, it will be uploaded to YouTube shortly with all my social media links, and I hope you have a great night.